Joining us in the studio to shed some light on this tragic shooting is Knesset member Sharren Haskel, who is also a member of the Knesset's Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, and Middle East analyst Dr. Mordechai Kedar. Thank you so much for coming in.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
So to begin, this terror wave, has already been lasting for 10 months. There was some relative calm, but now it seemed to come back up again. As a member of the Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, what do you think are the next steps that the government needs to take?
Well, when we see what triggers it and what fuels those attacks, we know it's incitement. And as the Prime Minister said in his speech at the UN, he described the day, a Palestinian child going to a school where over there's incitement. Then he goes and he opened the television, and on the television there's incitement from the Palestinian Authority. Then he go to the social media, and there's incitement in the social media. And then he goes to go in prayer or for dinner with his parents, and they tell him that he'll become a holy person if he goes and murder other people. And this way of life, they live in a constant incitement. It's something that is very difficult to combat. This is something that the Palestinian Authority has to address. This is something that we've been working with the international community to put more and more pressure on the Palestinian Authority to stop this incitement, whether it's with funds that needs to be transferred to the Palestinian Authority and the demands in return to stop incitement, to condemn violence and murders. And there's other ways as well, through social media, where we know that this is one of the channels where it's being spread the most. We've got an open dialogue. The Ministry of Law, the Ministry of Justice, and the Ministry of Internal Defense, they have an open dialogue with the companies of social medias, YouTube, Facebook, Google, etc. And over there, we're in a constant dialogue on getting down pages that we know that are incitement. We are following up pages of leaders who are leading this incitement and going and actively working against them as well.
So we're going to talk a little bit more about social media afterwards, but Dr. Kedar, Jerusalem is a constant target in this recent wave of terror. And we know that you have a specific plan for what we should do in the future with the West Bank, but is there any future solution for Jerusalem itself?
Yes, to be officially, finally, part of Jerusalem. Because as long as they feel that a pressure on Israel will release Jerusalem from the Israeli grip, as they say, so they keep trying. Why nobody tries to take Nazareth out of Israel or Jaffa? Because they understood that Jaffa and Nazareth are forever will be part of Israel. Unfortunately, for 50 years almost, we did not succeed to convey the message that Jerusalem is ours, period.
So how do you convey that message?
We are not negotiating about Jerusalem. We are not talking about Jerusalem. Jerusalem was never any capital of any Arab or Islamic state. Jerusalem is not theirs. Jerusalem was ours when their forefathers were drinking wine, were burying their daughters alive, and were worshipping idols and idolaters 3,000 years ago. And if we were talking in such a style, they would understand that they can forget about Jerusalem and they will give up. Because when they face an iron wall, they give up. They don't want to die. However, we fail it. For example, the school system in East Jerusalem works with books which are printed where?
Palestinian.
How come? How come? And you are, as a Knesset member, how can you allow it?
So,
another thing, in Jerusalem there is an total incitement and constant incitement by Al Jazeera, which works from within Jerusalem. How come this enemy, which wages a media jihad against us day and night, they go all the flotillas and they sponsor, Qatar, the state which belongs to Al Jazeera, allocated $500 million in order to take Jerusalem out of Israel. Qatar is an enemy. And who with the right mind will let his enemy to broadcast from his capital? We know how to kick out El Manar of Hezbollah. We know how to kick out the Al-Alam of the of the Iranians. How come Al Jazeera is still working in Jerusalem? And believe me, Al Jazeera is way much more influential than Facebook, YouTube, Twitter combined.
So let's talk about, both education and social media, because we're seeing, there's a similar thread here. You guys have been focusing on social media. The government of Israel has been working with Facebook to try to, essentially curb online incitement.
So it's not just the social media. There's many things we're doing on the field as well. One of them, first of all, the problem with the education system in east of Jerusalem needs to be addressed immediately. This is
For 50 years already it has to be addressed.
One second. Not just the education system. We talk about basic needs of civilians. It's education, it's cleaning streets, it's infrastructures for sewage, for water, and it's security. It means the personal security of the citizens who live in this area. And in that matter, in the recent years, there's been an argument between the municipality of Jerusalem and the government who needs to take charge of it. And meanwhile, this argument, it became a serious problem for Israel. We are trying to resolve it now with an extra means and deterrence. I can tell you that now there's 7 police stations that are being built in east of Jerusalem to bring back the security of the citizens, not just in the streets, but also the personal security of the East Jerusalem citizens as well. It means that police is going to patrol the streets. It means there's going to be less vandalism. It means that also children that do the occasion rock throwing or aim to do something illegal, there'll be a police station nearby that's going to patrol the area. They'll feel more secure. And this is part on how you create a true Israeli community or true Israeli sovereignty in east of Jerusalem. It's a process. It's not going to happen in one day. Also, the education system, we're going through a process now.
Yes, but we are there already half a century. How come all these things have not been done?
Well, I can come and say as well, why hasn't it been done last year? Why hasn't it been done 10 years ago? Why hasn't it been done 20 years ago? The issue is that we're dealing with it now, and we're addressing it, and we're changing it.
Now, social media is a big looming issue here. We keep on speaking about it, but the Arab world has changed over the past 5 years, and many people attribute that to online platforms like Facebook and Twitter. Dr. Kedar, would you say? Well, I think we see it all over the news.
Look, our biggest mistake is when we try to project what happens with us on others. Processes and all kinds of things which could prevail in Western societies do not necessarily prevail in the Eastern societies. And this is the problem. Since Facebook and Twitter and social media became the name of the game in Western societies, we tend to think that this is the same thing in East Jerusalem or in the Arab world. This might be wrong. And I'm telling you, Al Jazeera is way much more influential than all the other social media, especially since Al Jazeera is also on the cell phone.
Now,
so this is why they are influential.
From today's attack, for example, he was supposed to be going to jail for online incitement later today, correct?
Could be. We are not supposed to talk about him. But what I'm saying is that you cannot judge somebody who takes a car and starts shooting. By the way, shooting from car was a custom of the Islamic State in the beginning of 2014. There are dozens of clips in Iraq how they take machine guns and they go around Shi'i cars, and you can see Shi'i cars with all kinds of symbols, and they shoot the people dead just on the road. This is what the Islamic State was doing in the beginning of 2014, and this actually struck a terror into the hearts of the Iraqis because they were not familiar with this. And maybe this one actually emulated the Islamic State.
I'll disagree on what you've said before, just in the sense where the media has a lot to do with incitement, but it's not just that. It's also social media. It's also the education system. It's also the leader. And the social media is playing a crucial role in this incitement, and not just in Israel. I mean, if we look on Daesh, We know that they recruit through social media.
Look,
and that, one second, and
you're
that
right.
happened through our social media as well. And Israel has been facing it for a while. That's why we have an open dialogue with these social media. That's why we're trying to spread the truth against those lies and the propaganda that they are spreading online.
Sharren,
For example,
there is a basic
one second.
difference.
For example, 3 weeks ago, they were spreading those lies about an attacker, a suicide terrorist, who came with 2 knives from Jordan to attack soldiers and innocent civilians. And immediately the Palestinian Authority in the media, but mainly on social media, it fired that the Israeli police and army have murdered, cold-blooded, a Jordanian citizen, which was not true. As soon as we've seen that, we put on social media pictures on the attack, how he attacked, showing his knives, to spread it against those viral propaganda and lies that are being spread on social media.
And you convince them immediately.
But you don't convince them, but these lies that are being spread are calling for the younger generation to go and attack innocent people. And this is a major problem.
I'll give you a good example. We are trying to shut down the Facebook pages of Hamas. We are begging in Palo Alto, to Facebook, while Al Jazeera is working 10 minutes right from the Knesset. How come they are still working? They have no status in Israel. We could tell them, take your belongings and just disappear immediately. And in 1 minute,
but as
this
soon as
problem
you do
would be
something
much
like
reduced.
that, they will immediately send propaganda that Israel is harming the freedom of journalists, the freedom of speech.
No, they have the freedom of incitement. This is the freedom of incitement. We allow it. And we allow it. Look, we don't allow the Al-Manar work here. We don't allow the Iranians to work here. Qatar is no less enemy to Israel than Iran and Hezbollah. And this
Listen, my friends, we're
and
running
this is
out of
why
time.
Al Jazeera should be kicked out from I'm not chatting Al Jazeera. Let them wage their media jihad against us from other places. Why should we open this place for them? Who with the right mind invite his enemy to his living room?
If
All right, my friends, we're out of
Al
time.
Jazeera is the
I know
enemy.
we want to continue. We're out
If
of
Al
time.
Jazeera was our only problem, it wouldn't be as severe as
It
this
is
one.
at the
One
beginning.
of
It
the
is a good
major.
beginning.
They get.
Shutting Al Jazeera.
They get. Dr. Kedar. They get most of their information from people who spread it through social media,
Shutting
and then
Al
they
Jazeera
broadcast
in
that.
Israel will be a good step in the right
I
direction.
think we can all come to the general conclusion that there are very many reasons that are influencing the current wave of violence that we're experiencing in social media, and Al Jazeera, the media, are some of the big ones. Thank you guys both for coming in. We can
Pleasure.
only hope that
Thanks for inviting us.
we can only hope that the future is brighter. Thank you guys.